So here is the website we are building today. So this is going to be kind of a long series. I'm going to go over in a little bit what's going to be covered, but basically I'll just quickly summarize. You'll hear it twice. But we're going to do HTML and CSS. We'll do a brief overview in this first episode of just like what are those, and then moving forward, we're going to build this portfolio website. So you have this homepage. This is a project I did in the past. So these, you can imagine that they're different projects, and maybe we'll actually change that to be different projects, and we'll add like a hover effect, and then you can click into them, and we'll style that all up. And then there's going to be an about page. So you can see my about page just a little bit here, and then a contact me page that actually links to an email. And all of this is done with HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap. So we'll cover all of those coming up. And this actually is from my GitHub. That's where I'm hosting this, as you can see up here. And I will include my GitHub link if you want to follow the code and see what's actually happening right there. So, yep. Thank you for watching. Hi, welcome to my channel, Claire Codes. So in this video, we will be building a portfolio website that you saw before this clip of me. So this first part of this series, we're going to actually break down like what is HTML, what is CSS, what are they all about. We're going to go through just like the basics of like these are some simple HTML tags, just how you connect, you link your CSS page to your HTML. How can we do some CSS styling? So very basic. So if you are already, pretty proficient in HTML and CSS, maybe skip ahead to part 2. If not, stay with me and let's go on this journey together. Okay, great. Let's get started. Okay, let's get started. So this is actually a presentation that I made for Bust Craftacular. Bust is a feminist magazine I used to work for, and I actually taught this class there. I'll include a link to their webpage if you want to find out more about them. Very cool magazine. Okay, building web pages, HTML, CSS. So this is a little GIF that is not playing right now of what different tags in HTML look like. We will be covering that. All right, so our class breakdown. So I'll give a little introduction about who I am. Then we'll go over an intro to HTML, CSS, step-by-step overview to HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap styling, and then a live coding demo. Let's build the portfolio that I showed at the beginning. Awesome. All right, so hello, my name is Claire Philipek. You are on the Claire Codes channel. I'm a software engineer and designer. I studied at the Grace Hopper program at Full Stack Academy. That's a coding bootcamp. And I studied graphic design at School of Visual Arts. So that's who I am. Okay, HTML, which stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is the standard markup language for documents designed to be displayed in a web browser. And we're actually going to do an inspect demo right now. All right, great. This is my portfolio website. As you can see, I actually made this with React and JavaScript, which we will cover in some course down the line. This course is just focusing on HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap. Okay, so something that's great about Chrome, and you can do this in any web browser, I'm going to double click like that, and I'm going to click Inspect. And there we go. So we can actually see the tags that are going on in this application. And if I click this right here, this I can actually select, and I can see that this writing here is in an H3 tag with the class name of home header, and we'll cover what different tags are and what classes do. But a basic thing, a class helps us control. We can label this, so we labeled this home header, and then maybe down the line, if I have another web page and I want it to be the same size and look the same, I can also label it home header. So you can kind of get where I'm going with this. As you can see on this side, this is the CSS, and we'll get to that in a second, but this is actually controlling the different, the font size, for example, in the CSS, and directly here, and this doesn't affect my web page, this is just in the browser, and you can go to Wikipedia and do this to your heart's content. I can make this 60 now, and this is actually a good way to see what does it look like at 60. I maybe like that better. Okay, cool. So different tags, we have some div tags, we'll talk about that as well. We have a row with columns and H3 tag. Okay, great. Okay, moving on to CSS. So CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. and it is a style sheet language used to describe the presentation of a document written in HTML or XML. So what does this mean exactly? So as you can see, it's a style sheet. So this is controlling the styling that's happening in our HTML page. And if we took away all of the CSS, you may have seen this before when a page didn't fully load, like if you're going to Facebook or something, and just kind of see like maybe everything's in a list or like links are just underlined with like blue. Like there's HTML comes with its own like preset styling, and then you override it with your CSS styles. And styling controls everything from, where things are located on the page. So is it centered? What color is this? What size? And it's like I'm always learning new CSS elements that I can use. So, and that's what's great about coding. So let's dive back into my portfolio website and let's adjust some CSS again. Okay, so we're back on my website. As you can see, I have my name here. It's great. Let's go into a page. Okay. So again, we can use this arrow to click in. And we can see over here, maybe I can make this a little bigger. Yeah, okay. Move this up. All right, so this was home header that we selected. That's controlling this. I already know that. Let's do something to that. Let's do color, which controls the color. Let's make it, we can kind of see what these different colors will look like. Aquamarine, that's fun. What else can we do? Let's see. Let's align the text. And what's great too, and like this will happen in code editor as well, so you can see all the different adjustments I can make just by text. Like I can do text align, and then if I go over here, it even shows me, so center, it's going to center all the text, and I can kind of click down here and see I'm aligning at end and do all these fun things. Ooh, justify, kind of wild. And then they have these web kits, which I'm still actually trying to learn a bit. I think it's really controlling it to the page itself, as this is controlling it to the div. Okay, great. So I centered that. There's a lot going on with my H2s, which I believe, or a lot of these H things. So I'm controlling the font weight, so I'm making sure that they're all light, as you can see, except for what I made bold over here. Yeah, and they already have built in, as you can see down here. And because I'm controlling the font size somewhere else, it's actually crossing out the original font size that just comes with it. And of course, because I am doing the font weight, that's crossed out as well. We're going to get into this later, but I actually imported a Google font called Inconsolata, and that's what's coming for the body. All right, great. Let's jump into our code editor of choice. So my code editor of choice is Visual Studio Code, which is free, which is awesome. So you can just follow this link here, and it is open source. There are so many great like plugins that do awesome things. Yeah, I've used Sublime, which I also liked. I used Coda, I think beforehand. Before I used both of those interchangeably. Then I found Visual Studio Code, and I have not looked back. Okay, great. So let's start our document. Okay, so I have Visual Studio Code open. I just created a folder on my desktop, dragged it in, and called it Coding Project 1. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, and you can see I just clicked right there to create a new document. I'm going to call it index.html. And your first web page is always called index. And we'll start that up, and it knows it's an HTML right away. It does these little brackets. And let's create our CSS. And because it's a style sheet, it's often called styles. You can name it whatever you'd like, but yeah, typically styles. So styles.css, and it's just going to come in the same folder. We're making a very simple website, so we're just going to contain it in this one folder. Once it grows, depending on what framework you're using, like you might organize it differently. Like you might have an src folder, the source folder. Yes, but right now, just all gonna be in this one folder. Great. So this is our index. So great thing about Visual Studio Code, I'm just gonna do this exclamation point. As you can see, it's kind of filled it right over here, what it's gonna put in. And that's great because that'll start off our HTML document. Great. There we go. Okay. So what's going on here? So you have to first define that it's an HTML document. Definitely do some more research if you're interested in what's going on here. I know that you have to open and close it. Whenever you see this slash, the backward slash, is that a frontward slash? I guess it's a frontward slash. Whenever you see the frontward slash, that's a closing tag. So if I was to go in the body and make my first div, as you can see, it's an open and a close. Okay, we'll get into that in a second. And then we are defining over here like the viewport so that you always want to make a website, and we can kind of view it here. When you go to my website, which is still green, lovely. See, it's what is the word for this? It's responsive. And we want to have responsive websites because, I mean, then this can be viewed on mobile. Yeah, and it's just, you never know what device people are going to view it on, an iPad, what screen size. You always want to check, like, how does my website look in different browsers? How does it look in Safari, you know? And how is it responsive? And we'll talk about that later. There's something called CSS media queries, which help a lot with this. Okay, cool. So let's minimize that, get back to our coding. All right, so this is what's going to make it responsive and compatible with different browsers, different scaling. And then this is our title. So let's title it. We're going to make a portfolio website. Awesome. And that's actually the title that you see like when you open website. So up here, you can see it's like Claire Philbeck Web Developer. That's actually what I titled it right there in my HTML. Okay. Next, we have a style sheet, but it is actually not connected. And I know it now, but this is what's great about the internet is you can just Google it. And actually, I wanted to bring this up too because W3 Schools is a great resource. It's if you want some more information about anything. So as you can see, this is all about HTML. This is it's just never ending and it's amazing. It's just such a great resource. So this is actually what we're going to use. And as you can see, yes, so this is a link tag and they just linked their style sheet up and that's just what we're going to do. So this also goes, so as you can see, this is all going in the head. I just close the head. I open the head, boom, all in the head. So you also want to put your links in there. So boom, and I'm just going to do a // and then it actually is telling me it's right there. So because it's in the same folder, if I was leaving a folder, it'd be // If this is overwhelming, just focus on what I'm doing now, the // Perfect. And now it is linked. I'm going to save that. Boom, just did Command S. All right, let's dive in. And actually, what is going on? Oh yeah. So right now I don't have live on, so I'm gonna open the folder and I'm just gonna drag the HTML right there. And as you can see, there's nothing there, but it is linked. So if I change something here and refresh over here, we'll see it. Okay. So the first thing we're gonna do is do a div, and a div is a container. It's not very descriptive. It's just like an ambiguous container, and then you put classes on it. And classes, depending, if you're using Bootstrap, then they're actually, that's a built-in style that's happening to it. But classes are just great because then we can actually pinpoint this class. We're going to call the first class container because it's going to contain all of our information. But we're going to pinpoint it within our style sheet later on. So we have our div of container. So then there are all these different, like as you can see, there's H1 through 6. And these are all different, like headers. That's what H stands for. And then there's a P tag for paragraphs. There's a UL. Okay, we'll start with header. So let's just make a header. You can also just define this right away. And that's not styling anything. It's just like, it makes your code readable. And as you can see, there's also indents happening here. That also makes your code readable. You want your code to be as clean and readable as possible. If anyone's coming over here to look at it, they know exactly what's going on. So this is our header. Within our header, let's have our H1. And this is what you do when you first learn, and we're all going to learn this together. You write, hello, not like that, you spell hello correctly. Hello world, boom. So we're going to save that. Let's go to our page. There we go. As you see, this is the built-in. It's a serif. It's aligned all the way to the left. That's just how it's going to start. Ooh, are we ready to do some CSS? Let's do it. Okay, so this is our H1. Let's give it a class of, let's call it title. You want to, if you're going to have multiple titles on the page, maybe you want this to be like header title, you do want to be as descriptive as possible. We're just going to say we just have one title. So we're going to go here. If it's a class, we do .title, and then you have brackets like this, open and close, curly braces, what have you. And let's do text align center. Let's do like that. Let's refresh. We aligned the text center. Beautiful. Let's maybe, we're gonna have our body div here. So yeah, so it's still in the same tab as the header because it's not like when you're going into a div, into one of these elements, then you want to indent. This is actually on the same level because it's not inside of header, but it is inside of container. So within this div, let's put our first information, and we're going to make that a list. I like to use unordered list, so that's UL, everything kind of like it stands for it. An ordered list would have like numbers, so it would be like 1, 2, whatever, and that would be OL. And then within your UL, which is our unordered list, which will be just like bullets, we put LIs. So I'm going to put LI, and we're going to pretend this is our navigation. So we're going to have a home, and then let's copy that. Let's paste it a few times, and then maybe we'll have an about, and we'll have contact me. Let's see what our unordered list looks like. There we go. Okay, cool. So say we wanted our home to be a link. So a tag is the link. As you can see, I got the closing one. I'm just going to copy that out, wrap it around. I could wrap this around the outside of the LI. I wrapped on the inside in case I wanted to put something after this. It'd be like home icon. So I know later on it'll be an icon, but only home would have the tag. But I don't need to do that. So then within here, you're going to put an href to the link. And if I was putting this, okay, yeah. And because it's the same page, I'm just going to put a hashtag because that'll just lead it back here. Doesn't need anything else. Maybe the about page would link there, but that's further down the line for sure. And then if I was, yeah, we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. We'll get there when we get there. So that's how you do a tag. I'm trying to think. Let's get an image. All right, I'll be right back with an image and we'll continue. Image, I think you guys are going to like it. So I'm just going to create a new folder here, and I'm going to call that folder img, another classic naming convention. I'm going to drop it in to the img folder. There we go. There's our GIF. That is all of us getting a little mad because it's a little complicated at times, but we're going to get through this. We're all at our computers. We're in this together. Great. Okay. So now I'm here. Below, so we're going to call this div, let me give it the class, and we could have also made it a nav, but let's just call it nav because that's what's going to happen there. And then inside this div, close that body, we're going to maybe give it a class of image. We're going to put our first image in. So this is an img tag, and we're actually just going to close it like that because we're not putting anything, we're not wrapping it around anything. And now we need to give it a src, which is our source. And this is going to be /, and then we're going to go inside the image folder and do our giphy.gif. Then you want to give it an alt so that if someone like is doing this on a screen reader, like you're making this website accessible, if it doesn't fully load, it'll give the alt. So we're going to just call it catgif. And let's save this. And I'll pull it up. We'll see the catgif at first. Got to do some research. Let's refresh. Let's make the whole browser fit in here. So that's what our page looks like so far. Beautiful. All right. Awesome. So let's do some styling. Okay. I'm going to pull them side by side. This is another reason I do love Visual Studio Code. It's just a little cramped. Let's make this smaller. Okay, cool. So, yeah. And sometimes you can put them like also side by side so you can see what's happening on the page, like whatever works for your workflow. You'll figure it out. So looking at our page now, you know what we're going to do? We're going to have some fun. We are going to find a good Google font. So you can see I already have like Roboto and different ones. I'm a Roboto fan for sure. There's Source Sans Pro. There are a ton of good ones. So I have Roboto selected. As you can see, it actually gives me what to do. So I put this link into my HTML. I just copied it, Command-C. Go here. I'm going to put it right below my style sheet, like so. And then I'm going to go back here. And whenever I want it, I just do font family Roboto sans serif. So I'm going to go back over here into my CSS, and I actually want everything to be Roboto, so I can do a star to select everything, or I can just do body. They achieve the same thing. So I'm just going to paste font family Roboto sans serif in there. Let's go back to my portfolio. Boom, everything is Roboto. Beautiful. Let's see. I could have grabbed different font weights, like maybe we want this to be bold, and you can do that like right in Google Fonts. I can go into customize, I can grab like bold as well, and then you can see it actually changes the embedded. So you know for the future, but for now that's fine. What else? Okay, let's work on our navigation list. So let's collect the UL, LI. So you can do this by like just going in. So I'm going into the UL first, and then the LI is nested, so I'm going to the nested LI. And let's do, right now there's the bullets. And so to get rid of the bullets, this is a good text decoration. So see, like sometimes there's so many options, you kind of forget. Text decoration, none. And let's see if this does it. I haven't worked with bullets in a while. Let's refresh the page. Nothing happened. So it's still a lot of playing around. Let's see if we just select the UL. Text decoration, none. No. All right. Let's look this up. Boom, boom, boom. Stack Overflow is great. So list style type. That I actually don't think I've ever used list style type, honestly. I learned something new. I thought it was text. You know what text decoration is to get rid of on, and we'll use that maybe on our link, but you know, I kind of like sometimes links being underlined. Let's see if this works. There we go. So you got rid of the bullets. Okay. I learned something. You learned something. It's great. So actually for the A tag, if we want text decoration none, let's see what happens there. Yeah, so we got rid of the underline. Okay, that's what text decoration does. Cool. All right, so we're going ahead. All right, we're gonna do something. I don't personally like floats so much. This is another way to control the position of where everything is going on the page. But for the sake of this, before we use Bootstrap or CSS Grid, which are other ways to control the placement of items on the page, we are going to make all of our items in our list float left. And I'll show you what happens there. So see, they all went side by side, and this happened. And we're going to inspect to see what's going on a little bit. So basically, because these divs, and we have this all the way pushed over, these divs here no longer take up this whole chunk. As you can see, this takes up the whole width, like there to there. But because we floated them left, they actually no longer control that much space, so this actually floats next to them. So in order to make that go underneath like it was before, I would have to go and go to the image tag and do clear both. Let's see what happens there. I think this should, yeah, so see, then it clears the float that's happening above, goes back to below. So as you can see, this is kind of wacky. They're all next to each other. Something that's great that we can control is we can control the padding and the margin. So let's go and we'll select all of our LIs, and let's give them all a margin. Oops, if I spell that right. Margin. And that's something like you'll see stuff like isn't working. You'll be like, why? I did everything correctly. And you'll realize you just spelled like margin, like I just did. Let's give it a margin. And I work with pixels. You can work with percentages. There are many different ways of doing this. I like pixels. And let's close out of this. Let's refresh. And there we go. So they all kind of moved over. So if we inspect what's going on here. So as you can see, this orange, right? That's the margin, and there's padding. So what's the difference between margin and padding? Padding, like say I colored all of these, like I gave them all a blue background. Maybe we'll do that in a second. Padding, let's give them all background blue. And I can do background, and I can also do background color. I think they really achieve the same thing. I like doing background color because I know exactly what's going on. And then let's try Okay, let's see what it looks like without padding. So as you can see, like the blue is directly surrounding everything, but they're still moved to the side. But the blue isn't changing, right? It's just, but they still have space in between. However, I'm gonna make the color white just so we can, of the text. So the word color just is text. And I know that you can do hashtags, get the different hex numbers. And I know that hashtag FFF is white. And as we go here, I can also like just directly change it in here, which is awesome. I'm also using like Visual Studio Code. And then it gave me actually the RGB, which is the same as text, just a different way of writing it. And then let's give it a padding. And we're going to have a padding. We can do padding left. We can do padding right, just like we did over here. We're going to just give it a padding all around of 10 pixels. Okay. Oh yeah, because this is an A tag. Let's make our A tag color, oops, color white as well. And let's, font. We do want, well, since it's our navigation, everything should be tagged. So hopefully we can add a hover. That'll be fun. Okay, so as you can see, the padding is what's controlling the space around just the text directly. That's making the blue expand. The margin is the space after the padding. If that's helpful. And then, let's do, okay. So for our A tags, and this is like we're getting to some advanced topics. So if you're not following along, don't quite get some of what's happening, don't feel bad. Honestly, like it took me a really long time to master all of this. It'll be, yeah, it takes practice. I'll include some links to other resources below that are helpful. I did a lot of Code Academy. There's some great like free stuff. You can go pro, but yeah, you do the courses there and you can like code along. Yeah, just and code along with this and play around with it yourself. Honestly, that's a lot of what I did to get where I am. So hover, and I'm always learning new things. So on hover, I want the color to change. So I want the color to become green. That's fun. So let's look at this. So when I hover over it, it becomes green. And then let's just make color white. Beautiful. So now to always be white, when I hover over it, I know it's tag. Okay, so that's great. We have our GIF, we have our hello world. I think in the next video, that seems good for this video, I'll jump into, excuse me, getting over a cold. I'll get into building our portfolio site. All right, so stick with me and we'll create this beauty. All right, bye.